The world is quiet in the first breath of dawn. The wind moves across a frozen plain of long, whispering grasses, brushing against snow-dusted earth that seems to stretch into forever. The sky holds the pale colors of the early morning, soft lavender and a faint, sleepy gold. Ice crystals cling to every blade of grass like tiny pieces of stardust, catching the first gentle light. Here, an ancient world begins to stir. A herd of woolly mammoths moves slowly across the white earth, huge silhouettes softened by layers of fur that sway like curtains with every step. Their breath rises like fog, drifting up, merging with the crisp air. They make no hurried movements. They do not need to. Their pace is the unhurried rhythm of a world that knows time differently. And at the center of the herd, a mother waits. She stands tall and steady, her massive form curved around a small mound of packed snow and grass. Her eyes are deep and dark, soft with a patient tenderness. She shifts her weight and lowers her head, touching the ground lightly with her trunk. From beneath her comes a faint, muffled sound, like a small sigh or the whisper of new life. The mound moves, then, slowly, shakily, a baby emerges. He blinks up at the new world around him, eyes full of curiosity. His fur is soft and downy, a warm copper brown that catches the sunrise, making him look as if he was woven from light itself. His ears are oversized for his small head, endearingly floppy, and his legs tremble under the weight of this brand new existence. His mother leans down and breathes over him, her trunk brushing his back with a gentleness that could make the coldest wind warm. This is Manny. He does not know his name yet, not in words, but he knows her, the warmth of her breath, the calm of her heartbeat, the safety of every step she takes. In the glow of morning, he presses his small head into her chest, and she wraps him in her trunk as though the world exists only to hold the two of them. Manny takes his first wobbly step. He nearly falls, but a large, steady trunk catches him. His mother nudges him up again, encouraging him to try. He tries. He succeeds. His very first victory. He leans into her side as they walk, slowly at first, then with a growing confidence. He mimics her stride, tiny footsteps following massive ones. The other mammoths watch with quiet interest, but they give space. They know that in these first hours, nothing matters more than a mother and her child. In her presence, Manny learns the first truth of his life. He is loved. He does not yet understand how rare and fragile that gift is. For now, he only knows the comfort of her warmth and the softness in her eyes when she looks at him. Days pass, then weeks. Manny grows curious about everything. Snowflakes catch on his eyelashes, and he blinks in confusion. When he discovers his trunk can pick up sticks, he brandishes them like trophies. When the herd crosses rivers, Manny splashes through the water with wild joy, sending arcs of silver droplets spinning into sunlight. And always his mother watches. She stays close, guiding him, teaching him. When he fears the call of distant wolves, she stands between him and the danger. When cold winds sting his eyes, she turns her body to shield him. At night, Manny curls against her belly, surrounded by fur, wrapped in safety. The world may be vast and wild, but Manny's world is her. Their bond is not loud or dramatic. It is gentle. It is in the way she lowers her head so he can reach her face. It is in the way he falls asleep with his trunk curled around hers. It is in the way she listens to his soft rumbles and answers with deeper, reassuring vibrations that echo through the ground. They walk together. They breathe together. Manny's heart belongs to her before he even understands what a heart is. And for a while, this life is simple, beautiful, complete, but the world is changing. The air grows colder, colder than even mammoths are used to. Food becomes scarce. The grasses that once brushed their legs grow brittle and thin. The herd moves farther each season, searching for warmth, for nourishment, for places untouched by ice. Still, Manny finds joy. He plays with other calves, races them across snowbanks, tumbles and rolls. But even then, every adventure ends the same way, with Manny returning to her side, pressing his face against her fur, listening to her heartbeat lull him to sleep. He never imagines a world where that heartbeat could stop. One morning, the herd is pushed onward by hunger. They move across thinning ice and open plains dusted in white. Manny, now older, though still small against the towering shapes of adults, walks close to his mother. He feels her fatigue. Her steps are slower. She lingers behind the herd, eating less, resting more. Her once strong trunk moves with a tremble she tries to hide. When Manny presses against her, asking without words if she's all right, she touches his cheek gently, reassuring him. But even the wind seems to know. Even the snow seems to hush. Something is changing. That night, as the herd settles, Manny lies against her and feels her breathing. Slower, deeper, as if every inhale is a mountain she must climb. He nudges her softly, confused. She lifts her head and wraps him gently in her trunk, pulling him closer. In the silence of that frozen night, she rumbles a sound deep in her chest. A low, soothing vibration that Manny has known since the moment he entered this world. It is a lullaby, her last gift to him. Morning comes like a pale ghost over the plains. The sky is washed out grey, the air sharp with cold. Manny wakes slowly, expecting the warmth of her body, the steady rhythm of her breath. Instead, he feels stillness. He nudges her. Nothing. He nudges again, harder. Her body is heavy now, motionless, a great shape carved in silence. He circles her, confused. He tugs at her fur. He calls out, a small, trembling rumble, hopeful at first, then pleading. The herd grows quiet. No one needs to explain. Manny nudges her face, pressing his small trunk against hers, desperate, trying to share breath the way she did for him the day he was born. But her eyes remain closed. The world does not stop. The wind does not pause. Snow begins to fall. Manny stays by her side for hours, refusing to move. When the herd finally must continue onward, when hunger forces them to walk, Manny lingers. Others push him gently, trying to guide him forward, but he resists. He looks back at her again and again. His mother, his world, is gone. He walks because he must, but something behind his small, gentle eyes changes forever. Where there was certainty, there is now emptiness. Where there was warmth, there is now cold. And Manny takes his first steps into life, completely alone. Manny follows the herd because instinct tells him to, but every step feels wrong. The world has become too large, too empty. His mother's scent still lingers on his fur, a fading warmth that clings to him like memory. He stays closer to the rear of the group, head low, trunk dragging in the snow. He expects her to return. Every rustle of wind, every shift of shadows makes him turn his head, searching. But the outline of her shape in the landscape will never appear again. The herd moves slowly across frost-hardened ground. Ancient mountains rise in the distance, their peaks covered in thick white. Manny used to look at those mountains with awe. Now they look sharp and jagged, like teeth waiting to swallow him whole. The adults continue forward, quiet but purposeful. Survival does not allow for lingering sorrow. Life in this world is simple and merciless. Keep moving, or the cold will take you. Manny's stomach grumbles, but he doesn't want food. He wants her. He wants the sound of her soft rumble, the steady way she guided him, the safety of her shadow. When another calf approaches him, nudging gently to invite play, Manny steps aside, silent. He cannot run. He cannot laugh. His heart is heavy, far too heavy for something so young. One of the older females, an aunt of sorts, walks beside him. She touches him with her trunk in a brief gesture of comfort. But she has calves of her own, and she cannot be to him what his mother was. No one can. Days pass. Manny begins to fall behind more and more often. The herd slows at times to let him catch up, but the adults exchange weary glances. They know the reality of an orphaned calf. Without a mother, survival becomes a slim, fraying thread. One evening, as dusk spreads across the plains, snow begins to fall in soft, weightless flakes. They settle on Manny's fur, clinging to the fuzz along his back. His breath comes out in short puffs. The herd circles to rest. Manny stands alone. He watches the others lean into one another, forming a wall of warmth. He watches mothers wrap their trunks around their calves. He sees what he no longer has, what was taken too soon. He turns toward where he thinks his mother's body lies, far behind, on a distant plain lost to snowfall. He lowers himself into the icy ground, curling into a small ball of fur, exhaustion pulling him down like deep water. The night presses cold into his bones, and even though dozens of mammoths sleep nearby, Manny has never felt more alone. Morning breaks slowly. A pale light creeps over the horizon, stretching long shadows across the snow. Manny lifts his head, shivering. His fur is stiff with frost. He tries to stand, but his legs feel weak from hunger. Then, a sound. A soft, low vibration travels through the ground. A rumble. He looks up. The herd has begun to move. For a moment, Manny panics. The large bodies, the sweeping tusks, the comforting presence of numbers, all drift farther away. He calls out. A small trumpeting cry, thin and wavering. His feet scramble as he rushes forward. Snow kicks up under him as he races to catch them. As he nears the back of the herd, a young female mammoth, only a few years older than him, glances back. Her fur is pale brown with streaks of reddish highlights. Her eyes are warm, noticing him with a softness that reminds him of his mother. Her name is Luma. She slows her pace, allowing Manny to walk beside her. For a long time, neither of them speaks through rumbling language or gesture. They simply walk. Sometimes companionship is not about words or sound, just presence. Manny is grateful for her nearness. They remain together through the day as the herd crosses frozen rivers and pushes against wind that bites at their faces. Manny's legs ache. Hunger gnaws at him, but Luma keeps matching his pace, even if it means falling behind the group just slightly. When Manny stumbles on a patch of slick ice, Luma steadies him with her trunk. Her gesture says, "You are not completely alone." Winter stretches into something sharper, more punishing. The world is changing. The air holds a bitterness. Even the mammoths can feel deep in their thick coats. Trees are fewer now. Grass is rare. Herds migrate farther than they ever have. Food is no longer something taken for granted. The adults dig through layers of ice with their tusks, exposing buried grass. Manny tries to do the same. but his tusks are still small, rounded nubs. Luma notices his struggle and digs deeper, pulling clumps of grass closer so he can reach. Manny watches her, overwhelmed by gratitude. She does not replace his mother, but she is a flicker of warmth in a widening cold world. Days turn into weeks. The herd crosses a frozen lake, where the ice groans and cracks beneath massive weight. Manny is afraid. His small feet slip. He presses against Luma instinctively, trembling. She places her trunk over his head, shielding his eyes from what he fears. They continue. Manny learns to dig in snow. He learns how to sense thin ice. He learns to conserve strength and take rest when rest appears. Slowly, the world becomes less hostile. The emptiness inside him begins to soften. Not because his sadness fades, but because he learns how to carry it. Spring arrives. The snow melts into great rivers. Grass begins to grow again. Fragile, pale green threads that wave gently when the breeze touches them. Birds return to the sky in swirling flocks. Even the coldest wind feels warmer now. Manny grows. His legs become stronger, his steps more confident. Though sorrow still lingers like winter's shadow, something else begins to bloom within him. Resilience. One morning, as sunrise warms the earth, Manny and Luma wander slightly ahead of the herd. The air smells of wet soil and new life. A field stretches before them, dotted with wildflowers, their petals shimmering with dew. Manny lifts his head and inhales deeply, for the first time since losing his mother. He feels curious again. He steps into the field, brushing flowers with his trunk. Their scent is sweet and gentle. Luma joins him, nudging blossoms playfully toward him. Manny picks one up with his trunk and lets it fall on her back. The flower slides off and lands in the grass. She pretends to be offended, trumpeting a soft, playful sound. Manny trumpets back, louder, and suddenly they're chasing each other through the meadow, snowmelt spraying as they run. Manny laughs, or the Mammoth version of laughter, a joyful rumble that shakes the air. For a moment, he is simply young again, untouched by grief, untouched by loss. Luma stops to catch her breath, trunk lifted, eyes bright. Manny stands beside her, chest rising and falling. In this moment, he realizes something quietly profound. Life continues, not because grief disappears, but because love leaves traces strong enough to build upon. He looks toward the horizon. He imagines his mother's spirit watching him, proud of the mammoth he is becoming. He whispers a rumble for her into the breeze, a message carried on warmth and sunlight. The herd continues moving north, where sprawling valleys hold water and plants untouched by deep frost. Manny grows taller, stronger. His tusks lengthen, curving gracefully. His fur grows thicker. Each year, he becomes more like the adults. Though part of him remains tender, gentle, guided by empathy born from loss. Luma grows too. Together, they learn the rhythms of migration. Together, they learn where rivers freeze too thin to cross, where predators wait, where the grass grows sweetest. Seasons change, years pass, and though Manny becomes strong enough to lead others, he never forgets what it means to be small and afraid. One evening, under a sky painted with fading gold, Manny and Luma reach a ridge overlooking a sweeping valley. The setting sun reflects off a winding river like liquid fire. It is beautiful, but something is missing. The herd behind them is smaller, much smaller. Where once there were dozens, now there are fewer. The harsh winters have taken some. Predators took others. Food grows scarcer every season. The world is warming, then freezing, then warming again, confused, changing. Manny senses something wrong, a feeling deep in his bones. The world is shifting in ways no mammoth understands. The great herds of mammoths, the living thunder of the frozen world, are dwindling. And though Manny can't name extinction, he can feel its shadow. The snow returns earlier the next year, not the gentle, drifting flakes of Manny's youth, but heavy storms that swallow the horizon and erase the world into white. The herd pushes forward through blinding wind, their bodies leaning into the force of it, heads down, tusks cutting paths through drifts. Manny walks closer to the front now. He is no longer the weak calf who trailed behind. He is broad and steady, taller than Luma, stronger than most of the remaining males. His tusks, now long, sweeping crescents, gleam with scraped ice where he has carved through snow to find buried grass. He digs for others, for calves, for elderly mammoths whose strength wavers in the deepening winter. Because Manny remembers what it feels like to be small and hungry. He remembers what it feels like to lose the one who protected him. The cold wind flares against his thick fur, yet his focus never falters. He scrapes again, clears a patch of frozen earth, and steps aside so a younger calf can eat. The calf presses close to its mother. Their closeness stirs something familiar in Manny's heart, a flicker of warmth, and an echo of old pain. Luma watches him from a short distance. She notices the quiet way he moves, always making space for others, always shielding the weak from the sharpest winds. She steps toward him, brushing her trunk along the side of his face in gentle affirmation. Manny's eyes soften. He leans into the touch, grateful for her quiet understanding. The herd continues. The earth feels different beneath them now. Where there were once endless plains of tundra, there are now stretches of wet ground and muddy thaw. The climate shifts unpredictably. Warmth where there should be cold, rain where there should be snow. The mammoths do not understand the sky's confusion. Some days the sun burns too hot, melting the frozen earth into heavy slush. Other days, unexpected frost returns, locking the land back into ice. Manny senses the frustration of the elders. He sees fear in the mothers. Even the strongest bulls hesitate, unsure which direction still holds promise. Food is harder to find. Each patch of grass becomes precious. Each surviving calf, a miracle. That night, the herd settles near the remnants of a forest. Thin, bare trees clawing at the grey sky. Manny lies beside Luma, their trunks resting lightly intertwined. Around them, the herd sleeps in a loose circle, every breath visible in the frigid air. The stars scatter overhead. Manny looks up at them and thinks of his mother. He remembers how she would rumble deeply when the night grew cold, telling him, without words, that he was safe. He misses that sound. He misses her warmth. He wishes he could show her how strong he has become. He closes his eyes, letting the memory fold around him like a soft blanket. Sleep comes slowly, hesitant, fragile. The wind wails across the open plain, yet Luma's presence keeps him anchored. Her trunk brushes his cheek gently. He listens to the heartbeat beneath her massive chest, steady, alive. He breathes in sync with her until dreams finally take him. When morning comes, the air feels wrong, warm, too warm. The snow melts rapidly around the herd's resting place, turning the ground into thick mud. Pools of water form under hooves. The river nearby spills over its banks, creeping toward them in an unrelenting swell. The mammoths shift uneasily. Manny lifts his head, smell sharpened, instinct stirring. Water is dangerous, not just because of its depth, but because heavy mammoth bodies can sink into soft mud with terrifying ease. He rumbles to alert the others. The elders stir, calling the herd to motion. They begin to move slowly at first, then faster as the river swells further. Water rushes between their legs, climbing from ankles to knees. Calves cry out, frightened by the shifting ground. The river was small last year. Now it is a threat. Manny pushes through the water, positioning himself alongside a calf that struggles against the current. He presses his shoulder to the calf's flank, guiding him toward firmer ground. Luma does the same with an older female who stumbles in the mud. The herd reaches higher ground, but fewer mammoths stand there than before. 2 calves are missing. A mother trumpets wildly, the sound sharp and piercing. Manny charges back toward the flood without hesitation, scanning for movement, searching for small shapes in the rushing water. He spots them. 2 calves caught against a tangle of branches, water swirling around them. Without thinking, Manny pushes forward. The water rises around his chest. The cold bites into his skin, but he pushes harder, fighting the current. He reaches the calves, hooks his trunk beneath one, and lifts him clear of the water. Luma appears beside him, bracing herself, helping guide the second calf up the slippery bank. They emerge shaking, soaked, exhausted. The herd gathers around them, relief washing through the group like warm sunlight. The mother presses her trunk against Manny, then Luma, holding them both in trembling gratitude. Manny stands silently, blinking water from his eyes. He is not used to praise. He simply could not stand the thought of anyone else losing what he lost. As the herd recovers, Manny steps away, letting the others comfort their calves. Luma follows him and leans gently against his side. "You saved them," she says without words. Manny lowers his head, because no one saved her. The truth lingers unspoken between them. He looks back at the herd, smaller now than last year. He can almost count every member. Mammoths used to number in the hundreds, then dozens, then a handful. Now, barely enough to create a circle at night. He lifts his trunk and inhales the cool air. The scent is faint, but it's there. Other mammoths, very far away. Another herd, maybe. A hope. The elders sense it too. They change direction. For days, the herd travels toward the faint scent of others, crossing ridges and snowfields. Manny stays near the front, determined and steady. Luma walks beside him. The thought of joining another herd fills the group with rare energy. More mammoths, more calves, more life. But when they crest the final hill, there is only silence. In the valley below lies the remains of a mammoth herd, not moving, not breathing. The snow covers them halfway, still shapes, frozen by cold or hunger or both. The last trace of hope dies in the wind. Luma presses her head to Manny's shoulder. His breath trembles. He steps closer to the valley, stopping a few paces away, unable to move further. These were supposed to be their future. Instead, they are a warning. The world is no longer the world of mammoths. It belongs to something else now. The climate shifts faster each year. Forests retreat. Grasslands shrink. Mammoths, once endless, become whispers in a world turning unfamiliar. Over the next seasons, deaths come more frequently. One elder collapses during migration and never stands again. A young male breaks through thin ice and disappears beneath dark water. A mother starves because she gives every scrap of food to her calf. Manny becomes leader, not because he wants power, but because he refuses to abandon anyone. He leads them through storm after storm. He digs until his muscles shake. He shields calves through blizzards with his own massive body. He loses and still keeps moving, but the losses change him. His eyes, once wide with curiosity, hold sorrow deeper than any river. The herd shrinks to 10, then 8, then 5. Each night the circle grows smaller. Manny positions himself on the outer side to protect the others, feeling the emptiness behind him like a cold wind. He dreams of his mother often now, not the moment she died, but the moment she lived. Her warmth, her rumble, the way she curled her trunk around him as if promising he would never be alone. He realizes the truth. He does everything he does because she once loved him. Her love didn't disappear when she did. It shaped him. Seasons pass, and time continues carving away at the world. Manny's fur turns darker. Luma's steps grow slower. The last remaining calf, tiny, precious, fragile, struggles through its first winter. Manny digs through ice to find grass for him, even when his own stomach aches with hunger. But the world has no mercy left. One morning, the calf does not rise. Its mother collapses beside it, refusing to leave. Luma lowers her head. Manny turns away, unable to bear another grief. The herd shrinks to 3. Manny, Luma, a sick elder bull who can barely walk. The snow falls silently over them. The world that once belonged to mammoths belongs to no one now. Snow falls thicker than winter. Dense flakes swirl downward in slow spirals, as though the sky is trying to bury the world softly, gently, under a quiet blanket. Manny stands at the edge of a frozen stream, his breath steaming into the sharp air. Luma is nearby, resting beneath a crooked tree, stripped bare by cold. The elder bull, old, weakened, exhausted, lies on a low ridge overlooking the plain. Manny watches him. The bull hasn't moved in hours. The others do not speak of it, but they feel it, the weight of another ending approaching. The elder bull was once powerful, towering. His tusks were long and weathered, etched with grooves from years of digging through ice. Manny remembers following in his footsteps as a calf, copying his movements. He was the one who taught Manny how to listen to the ground, how to sense thin ice, how to find grass beneath the deepest snow. Now he is fading. His breath comes in shallow pools, barely disturbing the frost around his mouth. Manny approaches slowly, careful not to startle him, though startle is unlikely. The bull's eyes open, not wide, just enough to acknowledge Manny's presence. Manny kneels beside him. For a long moment, nothing is said. No trumpets, no rumbling. Only shared breath and snow whispering against the earth. Finally, the bull speaks through a vibration low in his chest. A language of memory and earth. I am tired. Manny presses his trunk to the bull's cheek. Rest, he answers without words. The bull's eyes close. His massive head lowers into the snow. And then stillness. A stillness too complete to mistake. Manny doesn't call out. He doesn't want the wind to steal this moment or carry his grief into the open where the cold might swallow it. Instead, he stays with the body until the sun begins to lower. Snow gathers on the bull's fur like a final, gentle blessing. When Manny rises, the herd is no longer 3. It is 2. Luma stands at the base of the ridge, watching him. Their eyes meet. She doesn't ask questions. She doesn't need to. She steps closer and rests her head briefly against his chest, sharing warmth. They move on. The world stretches out before them, endless silent, heavy with the kind of loneliness that sinks into bones. Days become weeks. Their migration slows, not because they are lost, but because there is nowhere left to go. Forests have retreated farther north. Grasses thin out like fading breath. Rivers run differently now, flooding when they should freeze, drying when they should swell. The land is changing too fast. Manny and Luma walk side by side. Their breaths form twin clouds that merge in the air before disappearing. Sometimes they stop simply to watch the horizon. There used to be herds, massive, thundering, alive. Manny can still remember their sound, a deep, rolling vibration through the ground, like distant storms. Now, when he listens, the earth is empty. Only the hollow echo of wind passes through the grass. The world is forgetting the sound of mammoths. One dawn they reach a field untouched by snow. A miracle. Green, fresh, alive. Grass moves lazily in a warm breeze, dew shimmering like tiny stars in the morning sun. Manny lowers his head, stunned. Luma's ears flick forward. They walk into the field slowly, fearfully, as if the grass might vanish if stepped on too confidently. Manny takes one bite. Warmth spreads through him. Life, not survival. Life. Luma laughs, soft, airy, delighted, and Manny laughs with her. They eat until their bellies are full. Manny lies in the grass, rolling his massive body, the ground soft beneath him. Luma lies beside him, and for a rare moment, they feel young. They feel like mammoths again, not relics, not remnants, living, breathing. A breeze sweeps across the field. Luma lifts her trunk, sniffing the air. Manny does the same. He freezes, scent, faint, distant, but real. Other mammoths. Manny's heart lurches. He turns toward the scent, muscles tense in a hope too painful to name. He trumpets, low, long, calling out into the open world. The call echoes across the field and disappears into the hills. Silence. He calls again, louder, pouring hope into every note. Wind answers. Nothing more. Luma touches her trunk to his chest. "We may be the last," she says without speaking. Manny lowers his head. He does not answer. Hope is heavy. Hope is dangerous. He keeps calling into the wind until his voice cracks. The seasons shift again. Not gradually, but violently. Storms arrive without warning. Ice one day, heat the next. The field turns brown, then grey, then becomes dust beneath their feet. Manny digs into the soil, but grass no longer grows there. The land has changed, and they must move. They cross mountains that once held glaciers, but now reveal bare stone. They follow rivers that shrink into thin lines of mud. They walk along coastlines where waves crash against cliffs, salt water spraying into the air. Luma slows, more each day. She pauses to rest often, leaning on Manny for balance. Her once bright eyes dim with exhaustion. Manny adjusts their pace without complaint. He digs for grass and brings it to her. He shields her from wind and predators, positioning himself between her and the threat. Every action he takes is wrapped in tenderness. He will not lose her. He cannot lose her. But the world doesn't care for promises. One morning, Luma stumbles, not just from fatigue, from weakness. She collapses onto the cold ground. Manny rushes to her, nudging her, trying to lift her with his massive head. Luma tries to stand but sinks again, legs shaking violently. She looks at him, and in her eyes, Manny sees an apology. "No," Manny answers through desperate rumbles. He pushes his head under her chest, trying to raise her again. She doesn't rise. He trumpets, a sound full of fear, full of pleading. Snow begins to fall again, slow and soft, dusting her fur like frost on ancient stone. Luma leans her head into Manny's, their foreheads pressed together. He feels her breath, slow, then slower. She brushes her trunk across his cheek, once, then again, weaker. "Thank you," her touch says. "You kept me warm." Manny curls his trunk around hers, holding on as though he can anchor her to this world. He feels her breath fade. He feels her weight change. The moment is quiet. Too quiet. Manny stands beside her long after her eyes close, after the snow covers her back, after the world becomes silent again. He stays until his legs tremble, until his heart fractures, until the last warmth leaves her body. He touches his forehead to hers one final time. Then he walks away. And now there is only Manny, the last mammoth, the last heartbeat of an age made of ice and thunder and endless plains. He walks alone, not because he chooses to, but because the world has taken everything else. Snow falls around him. The sky stretches wide. Wind moves through the grass, whispering the memory of countless mammoths who once shook the earth in great herds. Manny places one heavy foot forward, then another. Each step echoes a promise: I will walk until the world cannot hold me anymore. He climbs a ridge overlooking a vast white horizon. On the other side, silence. No mammoths, no herds. Only the open, disappearing world. Manny stands tall against the wind. His fur blows wildly. His tusks gleam beneath the sun, struggling to break through clouds. His breath rises like smoke. He lifts his trunk and releases a call, not for rescue, not for hope, a call of memory, a call of farewell. It rolls across the landscape, trembling through the air, the ground, the sky. The world hears the last voice of a species. When the echo fades, Manny lowers his head gently. The wind wraps around him like a final soft embrace. He closes his eyes and lets go. The last mammoth falls with the quiet dignity of a setting sun. The snow keeps falling, covering him, keeping him, honoring him. The world grows silent, not because it lacks sound, but because something ancient is gone. Something enormous, something gentle. And the earth remembers. The snow settles over Manny's body for a long time. Wind shapes drifts around him, as if the world itself cannot bear to let him disappear too quickly. Days pass. The air warms. Meltwater trickles down from the mountains and runs between the stones where his feet once pressed the ground. The plain that was his home changes again. Where there was ice, there is soil. Where there was silence, there is the faint hum of insects. Grasses begin to grow through the snow. Thin green threads are weaving over his resting place. The earth has begun to turn without him. If you could listen closely, you might hear the faint echo of his final call lingering in the air, a vibration hidden beneath the rustle of new leaves. It lives there, inside the quiet heartbeat of the world, a memory shaped like sound. Manny's body becomes part of the ground that once carried him. The wind smooths the curve of his tusks. Moss gathers in the creases of his skin. In the spring light, snowmelt pools near him, shimmering like a mirror. It is the same light that once woke him as a calf. The seasons begin their cycle again, though they are not what they were. The world grows warmer. The ice retreats farther north. Forests spread into what were once plains. The air fills with new scents, flowers, sap, rain. Birds return in waves, their cries carving lines across the sky. The few remaining creatures of the old world move south or fade quietly away, and the memory of mammoths becomes a whisper. The wind that once carried their trumpets now carries only silence. Yet somewhere, deep within that silence, something remains. When thunder rolls across the land, it sounds a little like a herd moving through snow. When the breeze sweeps through tall grass, it moves in waves that resemble the slow rhythm of their march. When the ground trembles with the footsteps of other creatures, the earth remembers how it once felt beneath heavier, kinder feet. Manny's story becomes the land's story. He is no longer only a single life. He is the shape of the tundra, the echo in the hills, the breath of a forgotten age. The world does not mourn him as people mourn. It folds his life into its own. And for a long, long time, that is enough. Centuries pass. The snowfields vanish. Rivers cut new paths through soft ground. Forests stretch taller. Where herds once roamed, a new kind of creature walks upright, curious and restless. They dig, they build, they talk to the air. They find things buried deep in the soil. Bones curved like crescents, yellowed by time, heavy as history. They do not know his name. They hold pieces of tusk in their hands and wonder what kind of giant left them behind. They paint shapes of him on cave walls, lit by flickering firelight, great beasts with kind eyes and long curling tusks. They tell stories to their children about the guardians of the cold, about the ones who walked before the world became what it is now, and without realizing it, they keep him alive. Every story told in the dark is another breath in his chest. Every echo of thunder, another heartbeat. Every sigh of wind across the tundra, another footstep. But if you were to travel north, to the edge of the old ice, to where the wind still carries the faint chill of ancient winters, you might still find the outline of the last mammoth. Not the body, time took that, but the impression of his steps pressed deep into the ground, filled now with water and grass. The pools glitter under the sun. The grass sways in soft rhythm, and when the wind passes through, the sound it makes is low, deep, familiar. It is almost as if he is still walking there, still searching for his herd, still keeping watch over a world he loved too deeply to leave completely. And in that quiet northern air, if you close your eyes and breathe slowly, you might hear him, faint and far away, a gentle rumble beneath the surface of the earth, soft as a heartbeat in sleep. It isn't sorrow, it isn't pain, it is love, folded into the bones of the world, the kind of love that never truly dies, only changes shape, the kind that keeps grass growing after snow, the kind that lets a planet keep turning after loss. Manny once walked through endless snow, believing he was alone. He wasn't. He carried within him the memory of every mammoth who had ever lived, every step that had shaken the frozen plains. When he walked his last mile, he left those memories behind, buried in the ground, so that something else could grow from them. Now, the wind that touches the grass is his breath. The rain that falls on the tundra is his heartbeat. The thunder that rolls over the distant horizon is his call. He is still here, everywhere, always. And as the sun sinks over that wide horizon, painting the clouds in slow waves of gold and violet, the world falls into the same hush it once knew in the beginning. The same stillness that held his first breath holds his last. In that silence, everything he was, his birth, his mother's warmth, his courage, his loss, his love, comes together like the last light of day fading into night. He is not gone. He is rest. He is peace. He is the sound the earth makes when it exhales. The last mammoth sleeps beneath the stars, and the world keeps dreaming of him. The snow melts slowly around Manny's resting place. The earth drinks the last of winter's breath, pulling water deep into its soil. New grass rises, thin at first, trembling under the smallest wind. It leans toward the sun the way Manny once leaned into his mother, gently, trusting that warmth will come again. The world has forgotten winter, but it remembers him. Where Manny rests, the grass grows taller than anywhere else in the valley. It moves in slow waves, bending as though something massive walks beneath it, just out of sight. Sometimes, if the wind is right, birds land among the young shoots. They peck at seeds, they flutter, they pause, they listen. Because deep under their feet, the earth holds a story. Manny's story, not buried in the dark, but rooted, woven into every blade of grass, every stem, every trembling leaf. His final heartbeat has become the pulse of the land. When rain falls, it strikes the ground gently, as though the sky regrets its own heaviness. Droplets slide along the curve of rocks, down into soil that once felt the weight of Manny's steps. In their quiet descent, the raindrops learn his name. Not the sound of it, but the feeling of a mother's warmth, the feeling of snow settling softly, the feeling of walking forward even when the world has grown empty. The raindrops carry that feeling into streams, rivers, oceans. They bring it to the edges of new continents. They carry it to young forests where saplings reach upward with the eagerness of something that knows sunlight without ever having seen winter. Somewhere in those waters, the echo of Manny's life mixes with the breath of the planet. The world remembers, even if no one else does. Years turn to decades. Decades turn to centuries. Snow, rain, wind, sun. Each shapes the land a little more. The ridge where Manny once stood tall sinks into the earth. The field becomes a meadow. The meadow becomes a forest. Trees grow where he once walked, their roots weaving through the soil like gentle hands holding memory. Some of those roots curve in strange patterns, wide, arcing, sweeping, almost like tusks. And if a breeze moves just right, you could almost believe a massive shape moves among those trees. Not seen, only felt. A shadow of something that once made the ground tremble. A whisper of giant footsteps. A memory shaped like love. One night far into the future, under a sky filled with unfamiliar constellations, a storm sweeps across the meadow. Lightning flashes white and furious. Thunder rolls not in a crack, but a long, low rumble, deep, resonant, powerful, just like a mammoth call. Just like Manny. The storm passes, morning arrives, and in the soaked earth, a large curved shape reveals itself, washed free from centuries of mud and time. A tusk, ivory, enormous, carved by ice and by struggle and by existence. A group of young people walking the meadow stop at once. They stare. Their hands hover above the tusk, afraid to touch something so ancient. The moment is quiet, too sacred for speech. One of them brushes away dirt, revealing lines, scratches, tiny grooves made by another's tusks in play, or perhaps by the ice of a long, forgotten winter. They do not know the story, but they feel something, a heaviness, a longing, a sadness so vast it wraps around them like the weight of falling snow. One of them whispers, almost to himself, "Was this an elephant?" Another shakes her head. "No, bigger." She runs her fingers along the tusk's curve. Softer. She doesn't know why she says that, but she is right. The world does not remember Manny as a beast of power. It remembers him as gentle. They come back the next day with tools, careful hands, quiet voices. They excavate the soil inch by inch. The ground yields pieces, ribs, leg bones, a great skull heavy with the curve of tusks that once swept snow like water. They do not rush. Respect, something instinctive, keeps them slow. When the skull emerges, they stand around it in a circle, not unlike the way Manny's herd once circled around him for warmth. None of them speak. None of them move. One reaches out and places her hand on the smooth swell of ancient bone. A soft breeze passes through the tall grass. In that moment, everyone feels it. He is here, not in flesh, not in breath, in memory, in the land, in the stillness. Later, when the skull is cleaned and placed on display, people gather to see him. Children stand with wide eyes, looking up at the massive shape. Adults stare in silence, humbled by the weight of time. They read the plaque that describes his species, woolly mammoth, but the words do not capture him. They do not capture the way he loved. They cannot express the quiet ways he cared for others, how he dug through snow so that smaller ones could eat, how he stood between danger and those he cared for. People stare at the bones, but they don't see Manny. They see shape, they see ancient, they see extinct. But every once in a while someone steps closer and whispers, "You look like you were kind." And Manny stirs in the memory of the world, because he was. Wind travels through the building that houses his tusk, sneaking in through cracks beneath doors. It carries the scent of meadow grass, of water, of distant storms. Sometimes the wind slips across the hollow curve of the tusks and makes a sound. Low, long, soft, a rumble, like a voice calling across frozen plains, like a mother singing to her newborn calf. People look up, they glance around. They cannot explain what they heard, they cannot name it, but the earth knows, the world knows. And deep beneath their feet, the soil hums with approval. Because Manny is not gone. He is sound, he is wind, he is warmth, he is the low rumble beneath thunderstorms and the soft hush of snowflakes landing on the world. He is every gentle thing, every enduring thing. He is in every story told in the dark to help a child sleep. He is in every heartbeat that chooses kindness even when fear would be easier. He is in the ground that carried him. He is in the sky that watched him. He is in the grass that grew over him. He is the memory of love surviving loss. When you breathe in deeply, when you close your eyes, when the world around you grows quiet, you might feel him. A presence, soft and enormous, moving slowly through the spaces between moments invisible but undeniable. You might feel the weight of a gentle trunk, wrapping around your shoulders like a hug given long ago. You might hear a rumble so faint it could be imagined, yet so warm it feels real. That isn't imagination. That is Manny, still walking, still loving, still here. In every quiet place where love once lived and did not disappear.